Hey, it's Joe Crump. Here's another question. This one is from Don Williams. Hey, Don. The question would be how to use the Automarketer for contacting for sale by owner, not for lease option, but for a regular purchase or with all cash or terms with seller carryback. So, okay, so I guess if I'm understanding right, going into Craigslist and making an offer on properties there, but not necessarily just doing the for rent method where we get a lease option memo and then assign that to someone else. But let's say we want to do subject to, or we want to do a cash offer, or we want to do a terms offer that turns into a cash offer and sell it to an investor if we buy it under market value. Any of these other zero down structures that we use. First of all, I would use the for rent method as the initial contact method for everyone because it'll bring in the most leads. But then what we've done in the follow-up system, and we've got a 14-step follow-up system right now that if you just put the lead in, it goes ahead and over a 3-month period sends out 14 messages just about every week over that 3-month period, and sends out different messages and sends them to our clone sites. When they go to these sites and they fill out these forms, these leads become very, very valuable. It's very difficult not to close a deal after they've filled out a form. It's just a matter of whether you don't want it or if you just sound completely incompetent. If you haven't put the time in to learn how to actually speak to these sellers, you won't be able to close it. But if you know how to do it and they fill out these forms, that particular lead is more valuable than any other lead that you're going to get because they've jumped through so many hoops to get there. The more hoops a seller, a lead jumps through to get back to you, the more qualified they are. It also means the fewer leads you get. You're going to get a lot fewer leads who have filled out that form than you will that have just responded to a text that said, hey, would you consider selling your home rent to buy? You get a lot of leads from that, but you get fewer leads that have actually filled out the form that say they're interested because they had to read the form, they had to fill out the form, they had to give you their contact information, their phone number, their email address, they had to answer questions on that form. So when you do that and they go to those lengths to send you that, if you can't close that deal, it's because you're not competent speaking on the phone. Anyway, use the follow-up system in the Automarketer. That's, I think, the best way to bring these leads in. And yes, there's lots of FSBOs out there that you can buy substantially under market value. And there are those out there that you can't buy substantially under market value, but the seller has 6 other properties that he wants to sell, and he might sell those under market value. So when you come across those leads, you start that conversation, then you can start asking those questions about what else have you got. And that's when things start getting exciting. When you find a seller who's got a dozen properties, they just want to unload because now they're retiring and they don't want to deal with the headaches anymore, and you're there to take them off their hands and do right by them and make a huge profit for yourself. All right, hope that helps. 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 All right, hope that helps.